Welcome to our webinar, dear viewers from Switzerland and from overseas. Water supply is and remains a vital issue in many places of our planet. For the growing world population, water, the blue gold, has become one of the most sought after resources. We are currently witnessing long periods of severe droughts in Chile and Central America, but the problem has also worsened in the Amazon basin and in other regions over the past decades. The scarcity of water has led to famine, poverty, and climate change-related migration in unprecedented dimensions. Sustainable, efficient solutions to the water crisis are therefore of the essence. I'm very proud that the focus of our webinar today is a Swiss company that has become a market leader in groundbreaking water technology, AQUA4D. It is my great pleasure, in the name of our chamber, to welcome our 5 speakers. Javier Meyer, Chief Marketing Officer at AQUA4D. Hello, Javier, good to see you again.
Thank you, Tatiana.
Hugo Gaignebet, Head of Technical Support at AQUA4D. Bienvenue, Hugo.
Hi, thank you, Tatiana.
Felipe Villarino, CEO of IST Group and AQUA4D LATCAM. Bienvenido, Felipe. Johanna Guzman from the Chilean Sustainability Agency. Mucho gusto, Johanna.
Mucho gusto. Muy buenos días a todos y a todas.
Y Matías Manriquez from the Embassy of Chile in from the Embassy of Switzerland in Chile. Nice to see you, Matías. Welcome.
Thank you, Tatiana.
A warm welcome to all of you. Before we begin, I just want to remind everyone that our webinar will be recorded, and the recording can later be found on our YouTube channel, LATCAM Switzerland. There will be opportunities for Q&A from the audience. You can submit your questions in writing in the Q&A at any time during the presentations. You can write them in English or Spanish, also anonymously if you prefer. Now I'm delighted to hand over to our webinar guests. Whoever wants to go first, please.
Okay, thank you, Tatiana. Thank you very much for this opportunity and this chance to have this open and constructive webinar. So I will start with an overall introduction about AQUA4D, then Hugo will go more into details from the technical aspect. I will share my screen now. Okay. Can you see my screen?
Yes, all good.
Yeah, you see the presentation?
Yes.
Okay, so I will start. Well, as everyone knows, it's very clear that there's a very critical water situation worldwide. It's even affecting Europe. It's even affecting Switzerland. And this is a collective action where we all need to contribute from different perspectives. So this situation, considering that 70% of the fresh water is used in agriculture, it is not only our main industry, the main activity where we're present, as we have some other business units as well, but also this situation of fresh water being used in agriculture leads to the following situation. We see over and over, especially in the last 2 or 3 years, this kind of news, this kind of situation happening worldwide, and it's actually in most of these specific countries like Chile, South Africa, California, where we have our main action. Even AQUA4D is present in 43 countries. We are very active and mainly present in arid and semi-arid areas where we can contribute and add more value in both farm management, soil restoration, and brand value as well. So in AQUA4D, sustainability through innovation is part of our core values, is part of our way of operating. Actually, AQUA4D produces more energy than what it consumes in its manufacture. we bring energy savings and sustainability to ones that use AQUA4D, and also the system itself is absolutely sustainable. What is this technology and service that we are addressing and helping in different markets? This is a technology as a service. Okay, we have a beautiful technology that will change the interaction soil-water plant, a beautiful technology that will improve the dissolution of minerals and will improve the way water behaves in soil and interact with these minerals. But of course, these changes have to be measured and have to be adjusted so we can achieve the objectives of farmers, of growers, of food companies, and also the sustainable development goals. How does this technology works? Through very specific frequencies, we're going to have an impact in the hydrogen bonds, okay, of the water molecule clusters. And in this dynamic process, we're going to reduce the size of the water molecule cluster. Therefore, we're going to improve the dissolution and hydration of any mineral or organic content that is present in the water. We also have an impact on the surface tension of the water. This allows us to have a better penetration and retention of water in the soil. And this allows us to save more water. At the same time, we are restoring soils from saline situation, from intensive agriculture, from chemicals, etc., and all from droughts specifically, and also to reduce the water demand. As you can see here in optical microscopes, this is a standard water drop. I won't go much into details, then Hugo will address better the technical aspect, but as you can see in optical microscope, you see here that the distribution and dissolution of minerals is different than in a treated water drop, the same as the shape, okay, that you can see that there's not the same tension as this water drop. And then when you see this in an electronic microscope, you see that we have an impact in the minerals that are in the water and in the soil. This allows us to prevent the crystallization of salts in the soil. It allows us to irrigate with saline water and using less water in the process. As you know, standard practices for salts management in both salt saturated soil or irrigation with saline water, they're both today not the best approach. They are not really sustainable. On one side, when you want to restore saturated soil, okay, soil health, soil regeneration, the standard practice is heavy irrigation, 15, 20 hours of irrigation that you use a lot of water in the process. In some places, they don't have water anymore, or in some places where they still have a bit of water, it's not a sustainable practice. So AQUA4D will allow to restore all these soils and prevent deforestation, etc., using less water in the process. And that's pretty unique today. On the other side, for irrigation with saline water, you have some alternative, but these alternatives use 3,000 more times energy. These other alternatives, they need to replace plastic and so on. And the most important, these other techniques creates between 25 and 40% of wastewater. And not only wastewater, waste brackish water, a brackish concentration that then now companies, like in California, where I just came like less than a month ago, for example, now companies, they need to take care and hire trucks to remove and throw someone else this concentrated brackish water. So at the end, it's not really a solution or a solution that the market is demanding today. AQUA4D will allow to irrigate with saline water without all this collateral damage and using, again, less water in the process. And that's pretty unique. So basically, AQUA4D is soil restoration and water efficiency. As I mentioned, there's a technology with a service. That's why we work very close with our customer, with our partners worldwide, and together with the technology, there's a strict protocol, and this protocol comes with a strict monitoring and adjustment. We're going to create some changes. We're going to create interaction of water with minerals, with water in the soil. We need to measure and then we need to adjust. And in these adjustments, when we create the reduction of chemical, the reduction of water, the reduction of fertilizers, etc. We have a very strong share value where, as I mentioned, we have an impact in farm management, but also on ESG values. Okay, and I will give you an example why it's so important in this model for us to identify the grower's challenge. I will just use one example as a case study. In California, where we used to work for a few years with the almond boards and the almond growers to manage their salts, okay? They irrigate with saline water or restore salt-saturated salts in a sustainable way. Recently, they have this strong commitment of reducing by 25% the water demand. How do we work? What is AQUA4D workflow? We install AQUA4D, we have a treated area, we're gonna have a non-treated area, and we start comparing. We start measuring, as I mentioned. We start measuring the water behavior in the soil. We start measuring the water penetration in the soil. We start measuring how the salts move in the soil. How are we displacing the salts using less water in the process. We even can behave the plant's behavior, the plant's reaction on these water stress levels according to the changes we are creating in the growth environment. We can measure from the sky if necessary. For example, as you remember, the lower part is not treated. The upper part is the AQUA4D treated. Here, the black dots, they represent damaged trees. Here in the AQUA4D, using less water, using less energy, etc., we're seeing that we are improving the growing conditions of the trees. And at the end, this is the kind of example we see. 38% more production because of the salts that were damaging the production, food security, by the way, and at the same time, we have more moisture in the soil. So again, with less, we are doing more. We're growing more, we're improving the growing condition, we're restoring soil and preventing land degradation, using less water, using less energy, using less consumables in general. This is our market potential. As I mentioned, for us, it's very strategic, these arid and semi-arid areas. We have projects in the Netherlands, we have projects in Switzerland, but of course, in these dry areas like Central Asia, Chile and Peru, Mexico, California, etc., these are key markets for us where are the biggest sustainability challenges and where we can add more value in this process. These are some examples of North America. Just for you to tangibilize a little bit our project. These are some examples in South Africa. As you can, in Africa, sorry, as you can see here, AQUA4D use very, very, very low energy. So it can even be powered by solar panels. Okay, in the beginning, the solar panel was a matter of necessity because we were in the middle of the field where there was not electricity. So solar panel was the way to address the project. Today, even they have electricity. Some customers, they ask to have solar panels just to have a full sustainability operation. These are some projects in South America, a very important market for us. Felipe later would show us a little bit more in depth what are we doing in Latin America. He has been doing a very nice job there. These are some projects in Europe. In Europe, of course, we're also in greenhouses and some other different environments. Some projects in Asia. Central Asia is very important for us. Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, Turkey, all these countries, we have a lot of demand from AQUA4D in these kind of countries. And this is something new that I guess also Felipe will go in deep. Landscape. This is very important. In many places, they're replacing green areas for stones, for just other kind of growing environment. Grass and green areas are very important. It improves the quality, the life quality, but also it helps cooling down the cities. And AQUA4D is helping to keep these green areas using less water in the process. From football clubs, from schools, from a golf, till just parks, green areas, different kind of landscape. This is something very important. This is something very new. It's growing the last year and a half, and we're putting a lot of energy in this. Very promising. As you can see, we collaborate also with municipalities, with the Swiss embassy, and Matthias will talk later, has been very, very supportive in this process, as the impact we can have with direct outcomes for society and people is huge. So we're putting a lot of energy in this new business unit or segment for us. Next steps, we've been funded by the European Union to take this water savings and soil restoration to a larger scale, be able to install AQUA technology into pivots So here, the water savings and soil restoration could be very, very, very impressive. New developments, Felipe could talk later as well, because these are specifically in Chile. We're moving ahead with landscapes. We're also doing some important steps with SGS, directly overviewing this new research for mining, which is very promising. Again, water efficiency, process efficiency, using less energy, using less water in this industry that we know all that they use a lot of resources. So this could be a very important impact as well. So in summary, AQUA4D is about soil restoration and preservation, water savings, allows irrigation with brackish water, less chemicals and resources, and less energy and CO2 emissions, because less water is less pumping, so less CO2 emissions that are being released out there. We contribute with 11 of the 17 SDGs, and we have more than 30 scientific studies. We're back up with university. We have university from UC Davis in California, to INACAP in Chile, to INRAE in France, to INDEAF in Tunisia. And now I will give step to Hugo that will use a few of these studies to explain a little bit more our impact, how we are able to do this wonderful thing of managing salts, using less water in the process. As the standard practice is, you need more resources, you need more water to manage these saline conditions. So I will give now the turn to Hugo that will continue.
Okay, hello everybody. So I'm very happy. I'm going to be presenting you two different research that have happened in Irrigation, which is in Tunisia. It's a place where they're very careful with water. So the first study we had was about the leaching effect we can manage with AQUA4D. And so they did an experiment in order to measure how AQUA4D was impacting the leaching effect. So here we can see on one side, here on the control side, we have basically soil in pots and no crop inside. And the only parameter that is going to be varying is the concentration of the irrigation water. So the salinity concentration of the irrigation water, going all the way to 18 millisiemens per centimeter. This is huge. So usually in the field, we will be more between 1 and 4.5 maximum. Those are rather critical situation already for many, many crops. You can go all the way to 9. I've rarely seen above 13.5 for irrigation water. But so they do that trial, and on one side, they install the AQUA4D, and on the other side, they don't. And we give the same amount of irrigation water to the pots. Okay, so that's what the experiment is looking like. We can see we have moisture probes inside the pots, and we also have bottles to gather the drained water, because that's what we're going to be measuring in terms of salinity. So first, what they were measuring is, Javier, how do I get rid of that little?
I don't know, I guess you use, I don't know.
Because I cannot see the title of my graph here.
There we have a banner here from Zoom that we don't know, that is covering part of the presentation. I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we got it. Don't worry, guys.
So first, we've been looking at the volume of drained water. Okay. So we were sending the same amount of water to all the pots, and we're looking at how much water was coming out. Over months of experiment, this represents the average. What you can see is like whatever the concentration of the irrigation water is, everywhere we were having more water coming out of the pots from the AQUA4D side. Okay. So basically AQUA4D will improve the fact that you have more water coming out of the pots. Then with that water coming out of the pots, the drained water, we're measuring the electrical conductivity of that water. And so depending on the irrigation of the salinity of that irrigation water, we can see that always the AQUA4D treated water, drained water, was with a higher concentration of salts. So basically the combination of those two results, we have more water coming out, and this water has more salts into it. So we're obviously taking more salts out of the pots. Okay. Oh, sorry, I went back up. So here, for example, we can see in grams the quantity of salts that we've been able to drain with every irrigation. In yellow, you can see the input of salts you give to the pots with the irrigation water. So the more salinity of your water, the more salts you're giving to the pots, okay? And here you can see with the AQUA4D basically how much salt you've been able to take out of the pots. So you can see always here with the AQUA4D, we can take sometimes as much as plus 138% more salts than without the AQUA4D. So this is a big understanding that we have a strong leaching effect. And something that was very interesting here. So basically, if I go back up, we can see here we always have more water coming out of the AQUA4D treated pots. Very interesting for the leaching effect. But they kept measuring the moisture, at least for the 3 first concentration salinity, okay? And always AQUA4D had more moisture in the pots, which is not really logical because we had more drained water coming out. So we started thinking, okay, where is it that we're having an impact that allows us to have more drainage and more moisture in the pots? Okay, so they kept on looking at these different parameters. They did the same experiment. And this time, instead of changing the concentration levels of the irrigation water, what they did were changing the amount of water we were giving to the pots with a constant irrigation electrical conductivity of 4.5 dSiemens per meter. And same, one side was treated with AQUA4D, one side wasn't. And we got basically the same results as with the experiments where concentration was varying. We have more drained water coming out of the pots, okay? Sometimes as much as 71% more water coming out. That water that is coming out of the pots, that drained water, contains more salts. It has higher electrical conductivity here, all the way sometimes up to 30%. And if we look at that amount of salts, this time you can see it's not as varying as last time because we're not acting so much on the salts concentration of the water, but only on the quantity of the water. But you can still see that always AQUA4D is taking more salts outside of the pots. And they did the same thing. They were like, okay, we still drain more water. What about the moisture? And again, moisture was higher. So we drain more water, but we still have a higher moisture in the pots. So they had another students coming in. And they had to look at the effect on the soil structure in order to see if we were having an impact that would be able to explain that differences, the fact that we're draining more water and still having more moisture within the soil. So that's the experiment they did. Okay, pretty similar. So this times we will vary with the irrigation dose. So we will send a different amount of water to the pots. They also wanted to see if having a crop inside the pots was going to impact the soil structure, the fact that the roots are going to be in the soil and everything. And so here, basically, we're having an impact with irrigation dose, the fact that you have a plant, here in that case, it was barley in the pots. And the third variable is the fact that you have AQUA4D or you don't have AQUA4D. So before I go further, basically what they saw is like changing the irrigation dose was not having any impact, not significant impact. Having a plant in the pots was not having a significant impact on the porosity of the soil. But having an AQUA4D was having it, and I'm going to share that with you. And before we go into details, I'm going to be explaining. We're going to be looking at the microporosity of the soil, okay, which are the bigger pores in the soil. And they are here to help with drainage of the excess water and the salts that is within that water. And it's very important for the leaching, okay? And we're going to be looking at the impact on the soil microporosity, which is like 20 times smaller than the macroporosity. And that is very useful for water retention in your soil. So here, first, we look at the microporosity. So I'm going to go one step next, so you see how they did that. So we can see here pictures of the microporosity. So here, just to come back, in the pots, at the end of the experiment, they poured resin in all the pots, okay? They let it dry, and the resin goes into all the pores in the soil, okay? So after that, they're able to take the soil outside of the pots. It remains solid because it's just a pack of resin and soil, and they were able to cut it in slices. So they were able to look at all the different slices and with microscopic and or pictures to look at the impact on the porosity that was filled with resin. So first we look at the microscopic scale, which is really, really little scales, and which is basically made for water retention. And here is the impact. It's very visual. We can see that the AQUA4D side really has been able to increase this microporosity. If we look at it in figures, we can see here that we basically have been able always to increase the microporosity as much as like 60%. So that explains where we're having more water retention. It comes from there, the fact that we're able to modify the soil microporosity. If I keep going and now I look at the macroporosity, which basically are bigger pores of the soil that are there to drain the water, you can imagine that as like big columns within the soil that let basically the water go. They don't retain it that much, but are here to let the water flow in the soil. Well, here we can see again that the AQUA4D has increased this porosity, this macroporosity in the soil, okay? If we look at it with figures, it was this time more around 30% that we're able to increase the macroporosity. So microporosity, we're able to increase all the way up to 60% on average. And with the macroporosity, it was more around 30%. Here is just to go a little bit more into details. This is the way they classify pores in the soil, okay? So you have tubular voids that are macro or micro cracks, packing voids, okay? So if we look into details at what type of porosity we had an impact on, first on the microscopic scales, so the tiny scales, the little scales, we can see here that the AQUA4D side basically always had a strong impact on those packing voids. So the pores we had an impact on are the pores that are there to store water, okay? So this was really, really interesting for us, and it explained everything we'd been able to see. So we always saw in our projects that we're able to manage to store more water in the soil, and we always had to monitor it and to have clients adapting to it. And here we started to understand how and why it was happening. If you look at the macroporosity here, you can see it's not as clear where we had the impact. I would say interesting to see always that those tubular voids always had an increase. Okay, it's easy to see because it's that bottom of the pile. And those are really, like, as I mentioned, those are really those chimneys made to drain the water. And so having those two things going together, we understood why we were having that ability to have a really, really impressive leaching effect, and at the same time, having a really important ability to retain moisture in the soil. And I think that's it, Javier.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Now I think it's turn of Felipe to explain us the projects in Latin America.
Here we go. So
let me try to share my screen now. So please let me know if you can see my presentation.
yeah, we can, Felipe.
All
Great.
right.
Great. Well, first of all, I would like to thank Tatiana for this opportunity to share with the Latin American Chambers of Commerce. Of course, Matthias for his constant support from the Swiss Embassy here in Chile, and of course, to all the team of AQUA4D there in Switzerland. So thank you very much. I'm really happy to share with you a little bit of what we're doing here in Chile and Latin America with ESD Group. Just to start, ESD Group defines its business model under the Sustainable Development Goals established by the United Nations. Each of our projects are really linked to the SDGs, and it's our purpose to educate and transfer constant knowledge about the importance of advancing in this Agenda 2030 with our clients. So each of our projects is always aligned to these Sustainable Development Goals, and is really important for us. And of course, one of the main SDGs that we're working today is number 6, clean water and sanitation, where in every industry that we are present, we're trying to develop a strategy to the efficiency of use of water. As Javier said, we are in several industries today. However, our activity is mainly focused today in the agriculture, landscapes, and also we are doing the first steps in mining. That is really, we're really looking forward to see what are the impact that with AQUA4D we can make in this important industry for Chile, Peru, and we know is one of the biggest activities here. So we are really looking forward with SGC to develop this line of business. I can tell you about our expansion plan that we are planning this year and to 2025, expanding Latin America. We are already based in Chile and in Peru, and we are looking and doing our first steps to go to, for instance, Mexico, Colombia, Paraguay. We believe that is a huge need to just not stay in one country. That's why I'm really happy to have this opportunity to talk with different chambers of commerce. We really believe that the collaboration between the public sector and the private sector is really important. That's why we work closely with embassies, chambers of commerce, public institutions, the academia. So that's why we are really happy to be here today. These slides try to reflect a little bit of what we're doing here. That is part of our business model, to work in collaboration with different identities, right? As Javier told, we have been working really close with municipalities here in Chile. I believe everyone knows that we are having and suffering the worst scarcity in the last 20 years. So it has been really hard in Chile. For instance, in the green areas and landscapes, for example, with the sports fields, we're working with the golf clubs here in Chile, wherein they have already suffered the limitations in their water rights. Here in Chile, also the regulation in the use of water is really hard today, which is putting at risk the maintenance of these sport clubs that are large consumers of water, and where obviously the human consumption is being prioritized today by the government. So there's a lot of challenges when it comes to the use of water. And that we see it in every industry. In agriculture, of course, is one of our main activities here. We see the same happening in Peru. So innovation and technology, it will aim to help to achieve and to do best use of the water in these industries and to do a responsible production. So that's why I wanted to share with you why we're doing this collaboration constantly with universities, with some private companies, with institutions, And I want to share also with you, we're really happy. Last year with AQUA4D, we received this important award, the Energy Global Award for Sustainability. That is one of the most renowned environmental prizes today. And it was because of the projects that we are doing today in Chile. So this gives us a lot of energy, of course, to go on with our purpose of EST Group together with AQUA4D. And now we want to do this in Peru and in the other countries of Latin America. For our impacts, here, as I told you, in Chile, the water scarcity is news every day in the TV, in the newspapers. And so we are traveling along the country, doing workshops, doing some education impact in the schools, in universities. We're trying to transfer this knowledge that we're doing in the fields with AQUA4D and with the EST Group team. And it has been recognized with this private and public institutions. So we're really happy to be doing this impact. Now, just to go a little deeper, Javier and Hugo, of course, they explain it much better than I can, but AQUA4D is essentially not the service that we do today. That's how we managed to have this 20% average water efficiency in our projects. So the technology of AQUA4D today in Chile, of course, is really new for all the consultants in agriculture and landscapes and mining. So we have been working the last years to try to explain what happens because AQUA4D is I would call this like a silent technology that makes his work, but we have to be able to show to the clients what is really happening in the fields, in the soils, in the plants. So that's why we integrate different kind of technologies that supports all of our recommendation and consulting that we give. So what we're trying to do is an integral service for the sustainable production in every industry. So we work from global sustainability strategies for a client to the technology implementation. We integrate these monitoring and control services that are really important for the clients. They are really exposed to a lot of technologies. So they always say to me, I don't know which is the best one. So we try we're not just trying to give him AQUA4D the technology. We're trying to be a strategic partner for them in the long-term relationship. So that's have been a really good approach for our customers. This integral service that we do, we have a really close relationship with the clients. It's a lot of visits, personal visits. Pandemia was with COVID, it was really challenging for us because we're really we always visit our clients, so it was hard, but also opens us other opportunities of how to do business. We manage Peru with the support of Enrique Rebasa that is there, but we manage everything online. We will able to develop new projects, everything online. So it was also a good experience for us. Everything that we do, the purpose of EST Group is not just to be a good business, you know. That's why we have a really important area that is called the EST social impact. And here we work with a lot of how do you say, foundations, which have the purpose of helping communities that are not with access to safe water. So every project that we do, we transfer that efficiency or that operational benefit and financial benefit that a client can have installing AQUA4D and our services, and we transform or translate that into social impact in different communities. And that's why it's so important for us to be working together with municipalities, with academia, with these foundations. So this is what we're trying to do. We do sustainable education of the SDGs in vulnerable schools here in Chile. This is what we're trying to do in Latin America also. We believe that little actions will be helping for this Agenda 2030. So this is a really important thing for us to keep doing. This is different pictures of our missions, humanitarian missions and water education. With, of course, we are doing this in another scale, for example, with the academia, with the universities, in which we put a service, AQUA4D technology, so the students can have the opportunity to work with this high performance technology and have results and transfer this also to the fields. So thank you very much. We're really happy to be part of this webinar. I hope we can have other opportunities to be sharing with you. So that's for me. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Felipe.
Thank you, Felipe. I guess it's my turn. Yes, so I'll share my screen.
Tatiana is the moderator, but according to the program, yes, it's your turn, Matias. Thank you.
I'm not really the moderator, but thank you anyway, Javier.
Okay, it's your event, Tatiana. That's why, like, I don't want to, but
No, go ahead.
So could you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly.
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So yeah, thank you very much. I would like to thank first the Latin American Chamber of Commerce in Switzerland for this organization, this webinar organization, and AQUA4D for the invitation. So I'm Matias Manriquez. I work for the Swiss Embassy in Chile. I'm in charge of the cooperation, the Swiss cooperation project here in Chile. I would like to present also introduce Joanna Guzman, who is working for the Chilean Agency for Sustainability and Climate Change, and who is in charge of the blue certificate, Certificado Azul, who we're going to explain after. So for sure, and that's true, that the subject that bring us today is related to the technology and how Swiss cleantech is being used to combat water scarcity, right, and land degradation in Latin America. But as I'm working in the cooperation, I would like to bring you and provide you a wider context from the Swiss development and cooperation. So as you know, the SDC, the Swiss Development and Cooperation, has been present for several years in Latin America to improve the water management in the corporate sector with this initiative, Water Units Us, El Agua Nos Une, right? So to understand how this water management, which is related to the sector, the corporate sector, is linked with the vision of SDC. I think it's important and relevant to understand that this SDC vision in the region, within this initiative, is really trying to put in the stakeholders and the local actors the notion of the integrated water management. I guess this is very important because without this vision, we cannot like integrate all the stakeholders, all the local actors of a watershed. And I think if I can assume two notion and resume our presence in Latin America, I guess in the sector, in the water management is the notion of integrated water management and this water management in the watershed. So why this vision is important to the company, because it's not only addressing the climate and water crisis, but also is good for the company, which is carrying out this action, because, as I said, they benefit all stakeholders in the watershed and by extension, the company itself. So indeed, the fact of intervening in the watershed allows the company throughout implementation plans or action plans to improve the access of water to the concerned actors. So basically, what we did in the scope of the water units HUS, El Agua Nos Une, and the result is not only that the company did reduce the water footprint, but also added value to the value chain with the compromised supplier in the watershed. So what I'm trying to say, because I have only 5 minutes, and that's, I guess, the main message of the SDC is, of course, technology is necessary to face the climate change challenges of the 21st century, but it's not enough. The experience of the 3 decades or maybe more in all around the world in the water management shows us that what is really important is the governance of water and how we can make a good articulation between actors, local actors, that makes the difference in the long run. So now I said that, I'm going to what we did and what we does in the Swiss embassy to be with AQUA4D and more the private sector. So, as Felipe said, Chile is facing the mega drought, la mega sequía, for more than 10 years. So the work what we are doing with AQUA4D is, as I said, is to be able to use the technology to face the climate change and the climate crisis. But the idea is also to let the company that provide this kind of technology they can offer a concrete solution. So maybe, as you know, maybe you don't, the SDC is now in the phasing out process. So SDC will leave the region in 4 or 5 more years, only in the bilateral cooperation programs. So the global programs will stay, but still we're facing the SDC quitting the region. So the idea is we don't want to lose all the work that SDC did in the 10, 15 last years. So how we can have a match between all the work of the SDC in the water management and what the company, as Swiss company as AQUA4D, can supply a concrete technology solution to face, at the end, the same goals, which are to face the climate change, right? So concretely, what does that mean? What we did, so we have done pilot projects to understand the local water issues related to the governance and also the water efficiency. So the information collected is very important for us, for the Swiss embassy, to understand the market, right, and its needs, and for extension that can be useful for the Swiss companies that want to integrate or enter the Chilean market. So we signed an MOU with the Chilean Agency for Sustainability and Climate Change and the Switzerland Global Enterprise to make concrete technical exchanges, roundtable, and try to understand how clean tech can better face the climate changes challenges in Chile. So a concrete example is that we're going to make like a study that aims to identify the needs of companies that are applying for the blue certificate. And the blue certificate is a voluntary certification instrument from the program and Iniciativa El Agua Nos Une that Joanna will explain in more detail now. So basically what now this new context in the region without the presence of the SDC is that we're trying from the embassy with a strategical alliance, as Felipe said, trying to understand the market necessity to provide a better solution. And from the Swiss embassy, we are pretty sure that the Swiss company as AQUA4D can provide the technology that Chile needs to face the climate change. So thank you very much for your interest, and I'm here to listen your question. And now I'll give the floor to Joanna to explain in more details the blue certificate.
Sí. Muchas gracias, Matías. ¿Puedes poner la presentación en pantalla completa, por favor? Tal como le explicaba muy bien Matías, el certificado azul nace de esta necesidad y esta preocupación que tenemos como país en términos de la gestión hídrica, pero también como esta se alinea con la Agenda 2030, como los requerimientos y la gobernanza en gestión corporativa dan cuenta de el poder contar con un instrumento que se alinee a estas políticas públicas. El certificado azul nace en la Agencia de Sustentabilidad y Cambio Climático, institución del Gobierno de Chile, fuertemente integrado al aparato de fomento productivo del Estado chileno y que impulsa de manera pionera compromisos voluntarios en donde se transforman las empresas, los sectores productivos, pero con un énfasis en materias de sustentabilidad y acción climática. La siguiente, por favor. La Agencia de Sustentabilidad y Cambio Climático, con este instrumento, se fundamenta en principios que están dados en la política pública relacionadas principalmente con nuestro compromiso establecido en el Acuerdo París y a su vez con aquellas iniciativas que se han desarrollado en relación a la resiliencia, a la adaptación del cambio climático en materia de recursos hídricos. Además, este certificado genera un círculo virtuoso. Ya Matías lo mencionó, Felipe también. La Agenda 2030 sin duda es uno de nuestros pilares, pero también Matías lo dijo, el agua nos une a través del trabajo que hemos desarrollado en alianza con COSUDE y la Embajada Suiza, así como con otras mesas de trabajo a nivel nacional. La siguiente. El certificado azul, por lo tanto, tiene relación directa, por favor, Matías, la siguiente. Tiene relación directa con el objetivo que buscamos en materias de gestión hídrica corporativa. Matías, por favor. No sé si soy yo. Bueno, el certificado azul, su objetivo principal está dado en la gestión hídrica corporativa. Vale decir, esa gestión en donde las empresas buscan aumentar en términos de eficiencia partiendo por la medición, pero también desarrollando de alguna manera acciones de valor compartido en el territorio. Matías, por favor, ¿puedes continuar con la presentación? ¿Estás allí, Matías? El certificado azul tiene tres niveles mediante los cuales las empresas van postulando y genera además distintos tipos de certificaciones. Las empresas se incorporan de manera individual partiendo por la medición de la siguiente, por favor, Matías. Allí está. Gracias. El certificado azul señalaba que tenía tres niveles, partiendo por la medición, la segunda que dice relación con la eficiencia y un tercer nivel que corresponde al valor compartido. Este instrumento es de gestión público-privada, firmado por todas las entidades de Chile que tienen competencias en materia del recurso hídrico, vale decir el Ministerio de Medio Ambiente, la Superintendencia de Medio Ambiente, la Dirección General de Aguas, INDAP, Corfo Pro Chile y 4 grandes asociaciones gremiales que aglutinan la mayoría o los sectores productivos más relevantes de nuestra economía. La Sociedad Nacional de Agricultura, la Sociedad de Fomento Fabril, la Sociedad Nacional de Minería y Chile Alimentos. Este certificado puede ser suscrito por cualquier empresa, de cualquier tamaño, de cualquier sector, en cualquier parte de nuestro territorio nacional. La siguiente, Matías, por favor. El certificado tiene 7 metas, que son las que allí se señalan. Las primeras en relación a responsabilidades y capacidades, las siguientes en relación a medición de huella, luego en implementación de tecnologías y medidas de reducción, en donde, por ejemplo, la tecnología de AQUA4D, probada, reconocida e implementada en Chile, es una de las tecnologías que las empresas de nuestros sectores productivos podrían aplicar generando resultados de impacto. Es más, tanto en la meta número 5 que dice relación con el nivel de certificación número 2, más la meta número 3 que habla de esa máxima distinción de generación de valor, puede desarrollarse también a través de estos proyectos con las tecnologías presentadas a través de AQUA4D. Y lógicamente la última meta que corresponde a comunicación de resultados. La siguiente, Matías, por favor. Hasta el momento, por favor, Matías, estos niveles dicen relación con el involucramiento desde las empresas en un nivel inicial, midiendo, levantando información, identificando puntos críticos, identificando oportunidades al interior de organizaciones, tanto de manera directa, con su cadena de proveedores, así como también generando proyectos o programas territoriales. Felipe dio cuenta, por ejemplo, de esa interacción con la academia, con distintas entidades gubernamentales, pero también con ese impacto social que está dado a través de este nivel número 3. La siguiente. El certificado azul cuenta con una página web que es la que se muestra allí, www.certificado azul, en donde se cuenta con información para que las empresas puedan conocer el instrumento, a su vez puedan manejar e integrar los registros, los procedimientos para la medición de huella de agua, puedan postular al certificado azul y puedan a su vez conocer los requisitos que están detrás de aquellos verificadores de huella. La siguiente, por favor. El certificado azul cuenta con beneficios. Yo lo mencioné, la Agencia de Sustentabilidad y Cambio Climático es una institución que está bajo el alero del fomento productivo y con ello buscamos reducir costos y aumentar en materias de competitividad. Sabemos que el recurso hídrico sin duda hoy en día está siendo un imperativo para la sostenibilidad de los negocios de nuestras empresas y por lo tanto apoyamos a través de la disposición de este instrumento que permite generar ahorros que no tan solo están relacionados con esos costos con la gestión hídrica, sino también con la gestión de la energía y por ende con la gestión del carbono, siendo esta una de acción climática. Creemos que también el certificado azul aporta la seguridad hídrica, fortaleciendo y generando seguridad en el territorio a través de la responsabilidad que tienen las empresas y a través de los proyectos que se generan en el lugar en que éstas están emplazadas. Se fortalecen las imágenes de las empresas con sus proveedores a nivel interno, a nivel gubernamental, e incluso pueden adquirir atributos diferenciadores a través de este reconocimiento, afianzando a su vez las relaciones con la comunidad. También se pueden acreditar reducciones o reconocimientos de gastos que las empresas incurran en el marco del certificado azul a través de nuestro servicio de impuestos internos. Por favor, Matías, la siguiente. El certificado azul actualmente ha sido... ¿Terminó? Bueno, el certificado azul ha sido suscrito por alrededor de 30 empresas con más de 35 instalaciones. Solamente tiene un año desde su proceso de implementación. Los rubros a los cuales pertenecen estas empresas adheridas corresponden al sector financiero, al sector agrícola, al sector agroindustrial, al sector minero, servicios, transporte, al sector metalúrgico, manufacturero, de alimentos, entre otros. La verdad es que estamos bastante satisfechos con esta primera etapa, pero creemos que es el inicio para el trabajo articulado a nivel nacional y, por qué no decirlo también, a nivel latinoamericano, dando cuenta de este instrumento de gestión público-privada, en donde buscamos realmente contribuir a nivel nacional en este gran desafío que corresponde a la gestión hídrica. Muchas gracias por la invitación y quedo atenta también a las preguntas.
Muchas gracias, Johanna y Matthias. Let's switch to English. I do not have any questions waiting here. So this is the last 5 seconds I'm giving our viewers to ask any questions. Otherwise, I shall wrap it up. And I would like to thank all our speakers, Javier Meyer, Hugo Gaignebet, Felipe Villarino, Johanna Guzman, and Matias Manriquez for the excellent presentations and for providing us with important insights on the AQUA4D universe, as well as presented the Certificado Azul and the important work of the Chilean Sustainability Agency. While we may sometimes have the impression that the world is turning into an ocean of misery, you have certainly managed to provide us a big drop of optimism today. And every drop can make a life-changing impact, as you have illustrated very clearly. Congratulations also AQUA4D for having received the World Award for Sustainability. Dear viewers, I hope you found this hour inspiring. If you have any person or company who would benefit from a collaboration with AQUA4D, please do not hesitate to let us know and make them aware of this video recording on YouTube. Thank you for having been with us today. I look forward to our next Zoom encounter, which is coming up in a month. Till then, stay tuned, be safe, and goodbye. And thanks again.
Thanks a lot.
Muchas gracias, amigos.
Nada, chao.
Bye bye. Good day.
Bye.